Hey y'all, my name is Shannon Ray. If you are new here, I offer you my sincerest salutations. We talk about everything from life to love to relationships to things that I'm learning, experiences that I'm having. My hope is that you see some of yourself in this, that you can feel the sense of community that I'm aiming to build. If you're into that sort of thing, positivity, love, light, talent, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Do y'all ever just wake up with something heavy on your mind, like thoughts or a song or something is in your spirit and you feel like you gotta get it out? Yeah, well, two things. First, I woke up with a song on my heart, unexpectedly. Well, I think what's unexpected is what the song is, not that there was a song, because shade to the song, but I'm gonna sing it for you so you know. So yeah, that song was in my heart. I'll just go ahead and say it for us both. Great job. I know. That song has been playing on heavy rotation in my mind for actually a couple of days, not just this morning. So got to get it out. Thought I'd share. And then there's also a word that it has been in my heart, a word that, there are certain words that I don't like to hear even to this day. And this particular word has been radiating, ruminating in my spirit. And that word is, that word is no. And because the word no is so powerful, I decided that we should do a full video about it. So that's what we're talking about today. All the no's. And how the no's are meant to lead us to our yes. I was talking with a colleague of mine. I am at a new organization and still getting to know folks and trying to be very intentional about setting my boundaries, keeping my personal life personal. Every now and again, I'll share tidbits here and there, like the idea of sharing certain things that I don't mind getting out to help build connectivity in a very genuine way. One of those things that was really interesting to me was a colleague approached me about dating. What I really liked about the conversation with this particular colleague was that when I said no to a certain situation, there was no question as to why. It was immediately accepted. Let me tell you why that's groundbreaking. When you get to be a certain age, place, and stage, especially as a woman, there are so many questions about your standards, your beliefs, your desires, and questions not as to the why of them, but your willingness to compromise. Your willingness to compromise is always seemingly on the forefront of these conversations based upon either the limits or experiences of the person you're having the conversation with. The reason I enjoy the fact that no was enough here, because it should be, also because of the follow-up to my no. This person goes on to say, from what I do know about you, you're not at a place where it seems like you're not ready for dating. You seem clear. You're clear about your work. You're clear about your boundaries. Why wouldn't you be clear about dating? There was no rebuttal. There was no pushback. There was a lot of times where when I deliver no's, whether that be about my personal life, whether that be about my professional life, I always felt the need to add an extra explanation. But I've been really coaching myself up to say no and have that no be the entirety of the conversation. Whether or not I choose to offer explanation is my choice. Whether or not I choose to provide further clarity is up to my discretion. Being in that place in space to understand that no does not have to have a negative connotation was quite a road. It got me to a place where I was thinking about my relationship with God and how when I hear no from God, there's a little bit more of a process. There are questions, and not each and every time, not each and every situation, but it reminded me of how that was still a space that I could grow in to trust the no. Coming into this year, I got really serious about the areas in my relationship with God and where I wanted to grow. And so when that word no fell into my spirit, I was wondering what it was that he wanted me to take from the no, what he wanted to remind me of. You hear those cliches, right? Sometimes no is really not yet. Sometimes no is for something greater. But putting that into practice can really change your opinion about no without the cliches. When you think about the no in action and how you really break it down in the ways that it's shown up in your life, impacted you, affected you, what it first comes down to for me is that I was equating the word no to my relationship with God. Have you ever heard someone say, I'm gonna pray for you, or I told my family to pray for you, or I had my mom pray for you, or something like that, and been genuinely excited because you're like, oh, those prayers hit, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I wonder if my prayers hit the ceiling. I want prayers that break through. I want communication with God that moves and changes not only myself, but my surroundings. And as I was growing in that and understanding what that looked like, I had to come to a place where I understood that just because I prayed for a yes and received a no, it doesn't mean that my prayers failed. It doesn't mean that God's not interested in the thing that I'm praying about. So there I was a year and some change ago, I'll say, where I was earnestly praying daily, almost throughout the day, for God to save my marriage. Books. I was listening to sermons. I was trying to incorporate the things that I was hearing as wants and needs from my spouse. I was doing what I felt like I needed to do in order to put my full effort, my full self into this relationship. The harder I tried, the more it seemed to crumble. In hindsight, when you're out of it, it wasn't because of anything I was or wasn't doing. It's because it wasn't aligned. It wasn't meant to be. But as I was praying about it and praying for God to step into it, I had to come to a realization that my prayers were needing to change, not my marriage. When I was asking God to save my marriage, to correct my spouse, to change our course, to make things easier, to provide us with more peace, to provide us with more happiness, I realized that I was asking for the wrong thing. And that is why I kept hearing the word no. I had built up this wall with God where I had asked for this person to work out or this relationship to change courses, and I'd heard no. I was now in what I felt like or believed at the time was the most important relationship of my life, and I was still hearing a constant no. Finally, breaking down, feeling lost, feeling exasperated, feeling frustrated, feeling like my prayers were hitting ceilings, I finally asked God, what is it that you want me to get from this? Every time I heard the word no, it felt as if God was rejecting me. I was seeing it completely wrong. God was not rejecting me. God was trying to show me that he had something more in store. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I couldn't feel it at the time because no feels like rejection, and rejection hurts. And I don't mean that casually. Rejection truly hurts. I remember I was working with my therapist and I had been researching and looking at all of these different articles, websites, books that talked about rejection, that talked about pain, depression. I was really trying to get a better self-awareness of what was going on with me so that I could process, so that I could heal. What really stuck out to me was that rejection portion. Rejection activates the same parts of your brain that physical pain does. So it literally hurts. It might elicit emotional response, but it's pain nonetheless. I was using no's as a benchmark for where I was in my relationship with God. And so for every no, I felt like I was being rejected by God. If you're using rejection as your benchmark for your relationship with God, you're going to grab onto the things that God is saying no to with both hands because your focus isn't clear, because you don't understand. If God is telling you no, it doesn't mean that you're not good. If God is telling you no, it doesn't mean that you're not worthy of the thing that you're praying for. It could be a matter of God has something better in store. It could be a matter of God wants to prepare you more for the blessing that is to come. It could be a matter of God has heard some things that you weren't in the room for. God has seen some things that you weren't a witness to. God was telling me, no, I will not save your marriage because I'm more interested in saving you. When I started to come into a bit more of understanding of no and how that wasn't a indicator of the level of success or love or trust that I had between myself and God, I began to explore why no was so painful to me in the first place. What I began to realize was that not only was my relationship with no a reflection of my relationship with God, my relationship with no was also a reflection of my relationship with myself. And that one was the one where I needed the most work. Because I've come so far and because I've really come to a place where I can feel comfortable about speaking about these things, sometimes I almost cringe at some of the feelings and memories I had attached to some of the things that happened in my adolescence or happened when I was first joining the workforce. But there are places and spaces that I really think about where I felt a constant need to prove worthiness. I've spoken about in previous videos feeling the need to dress certain ways to show up for work. I've spoken here and there about even my natural hair journey, how it took me a while to be receptive to what I really look like because of feeling so much insecurity based upon other people's standards for beauty as I was growing up. Being a brown skinned girl, dealing with that. Growing up, I was more on the petite side, dealing with not having the donk. I've got all the curves now, so I just needed to hold on. But the ride here was a little shaky. So you deal with feelings about inadequacy, about how you're perceived, and I don't think that they're unique to me. I think that most of us have that experience, but we internalize things differently. So when I was hearing the no's, I was realizing that I was getting the no's because I was too easy to say yes. I was proud of certain things about myself. I was proud of the way that I loved people, the way I treat people. And I had to understand that I used to believe my biggest flex was how I loved people, how I treated other people. Now I understand that my flex is how I love me, how I treat me, the boundaries I set, the boundaries I keep. It's not some inflated self-worth. I don't feel the need to disclaim or to say that I'm still a good person, that I still love people, that I still care about people, that I still want people to feel their best in my presence, because the interactions with me prove that. I don't have to wear that on a t-shirt. I don't have to offer that PSA. My flex is how I see me now, what I allow for myself now, my interactions, how I participate, what I participate in, who I tolerate or don't tolerate, what situations I allow myself to be a part of, how I show up or how I choose to leave. That is the flex. The reason I kept hearing so many no's is because my yes was too easy. Sometimes I think that when you're someone who doesn't require a lot to be happy, you accidentally and dangerously accept the bare minimum. You start seeing people's effort as enough of a reason to let them participate in your life. And that's not always the case. You can see where they are and choose whether or not you want to participate. That doesn't place you above anybody else. It's simply what you decide to accept. It's your standard that you have to go by, not everybody else's. It's your level that you need to set for everyone who decides that they want to be a part of your life. How they get to experience you is based on what you see in them. You don't have to lower your standards because someone can't meet your levels. You're doing a disservice to yourself. So when I was hearing the word no, it's because God was trying to get me to the proper yes. My relationship with no was absolutely a reflection of my relationship with myself. Bare minimum should not be accepted because bare minimum is not what I offer. And if you feel like it is, you have the right to move forward to what you feel like is best for you, just like I have the right to choose what's best for me. That no from God is a refusal to allow you to betray yourself. That no from God is a sign that he not only hears you, but he's still working on your behalf. And sometimes the no comes to things that feel good, even though it's given in love, because we understand the true nature of God. Anything that he does is still meant for our good, even if we don't understand it, even though we can't relate it, even though we can't see it, even though we might not always feel it. The true nature of God is love. And so that is what we have to lean into. That is what we have to trust. Your relationship with no should be a reflection of your relationship with God when you understand the no. And I don't mean understanding as in you know why he said no. It's an agreement with God. It's you coming into agreement with God that his will is better. It's you coming into agreement with God that you trust his no. You don't always have to understand it, because we won't. We're humans. We're going to be hurt by it, frustrated by it sometimes, but we have to push through it. We understand that the nature of God is to not harm us, but to prosper us. We know that the relationship with God is meant to push us along. We also know that the nature of God is that he understands that it does hurt. And so he can handle those emotions too. We hear no's that are given to so many people in the Bible. We hear people say no to Jesus. People said no to Joseph, the dreamer. We talk about how that feels and where that internalization comes from. We saw Jesus in the garden when he was asking for this cup to be passed from him, and God said no. There was a mission he had come to do. We saw Joseph, who was left in prison for years and years because his brothers sold him into slavery. We see no in so many places, but if we understand the no's, we can understand that all of those no's are meant to lead us to the yes that matters. Yes to your will. Yes to your way. Yes to coming into agreement with God, to trust his process for your life, to allow him to be the author and finisher of your fate. Yes to believing that God is keeping you from something that is not serving you. Yes to believing that the no is keeping you from things that aren't serving you. Yes to believing that the no might just be not yet. Yes to believing that the no doesn't mean that he doesn't care about you, that he doesn't see you, that he doesn't understand the heartbreak behind it, but giving him all of that and your trust too. Giving him all of that and your yes in return. That is the price of admission for walking with God. You have to know that getting to that yes is the most important yes you'll ever give. And it's the yes that you can guarantee means that you will receive all of the things that are according to his will, purpose, aligned, and destined for you. Yes does not mean accepting lack. Yes does not mean giving up everything you ever wanted. It means believing in the will for your life. It means that the yeses that you do receive will be better, stronger, and more impactful than any no that sat in your heart. And that's easier said than done. That's easier to believe on paper than it is in action. But in action is where it counts. In faith is where it matters. Trusting God's no to my marriage meant saying yes to walking in the truth of my identity. It meant saying yes to walking in the truth of who I was in God. And it meant saying yes to believing that there is better out there available to me, even if I can't see it yet, even though I haven't experienced it yet. It's knowing that there is better. I wake up with more joy than I've ever experienced in my life because I said one yes to 1,000 no's. I thought that hearing no would kill me. Very literally break my heart, break me into something that was irreparable, that was unable to come back from that. But I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm not gonna start that up again. I'm not. I'm not. But you gotta understand, that's probably why it was still in my head. I'm still here. But despite the no, can we just for a second, it's this gesture. It's this stuff here. It delights my spirit. It's like glitter for your soul. All right, I'm sorry. Stay focused. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this video. If you're enjoying the content, please be sure to be a part of the community. Definitely hit like if you like the video. Hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Leave a comment if you have something to add or if there was something that stood out or you want to expound upon. If you want to get in touch with me, you can definitely do that. Follow me at either heyshannonray.com, join that mailing list. You can find me on Instagram under the same name at heyshannon.ray. You can find me on TikTok at hey_Shannon_Ray. I am around, I am available, would love to exchange with you. The more that you like, the more that you comment, the more that you subscribe, the more opportunities that we provide for other people who might want to hear the message, might need the message. That's all I want to do, is share what I'm learning and hopefully make people feel a little bit better than when I found them. I hope you have just the best day ever. I love you. Okay. And I'm going to see you next week, y'all. Bye.